And indeed, together, we would like to welcome you to the Rose Garden, the stage with our friend the Dragon here, and with DJ Driss, who will infuse some extra Tomorrowland vibes into this lineup. Here at the Rose Garden, all keynotes, all interviews, fireside chats, competitions are focused on innovation and entrepreneurship with sustainability at their core. So, Love Tomorrow really believes in bringing people together who want this world to be a more sustainable place. So just sit back, relax, and let yourself be immersed in a wave of positive power and inspiration about sustainability. Shall we look, Nathalie, at what we're in for today here?
Yes, and our first topic for today will be the fashion revolution, a topic I'm personally also very passionate about. Tom de Hoe, a researcher at VITO, will share how he is revolutionizing the fashion industry from inside out. And joining him is Evolena de Wilde Desmal, the founder of Verkado, and she will discuss her mission to transition from e-commerce to re-commerce.
Next, we will be talking about models of the future. Hint Salane, head of ESG at Graydon Credit Safe, will kick off this series by talking about business sustainability, a path towards immediate and lasting success. Injas Schops, director of Park Hoge Kempe, will enlighten us on the link between nature and man and woman, of course, and how saving the tree frog actually means saving ourselves. And Jan Dobbeny, CIO of VDAB, talks about how AI is transforming the workforce and how it can help every citizen to manage their own career.
And at Love Tomorrow, we want to make a real impact and inspire you. And that's why I'll be speaking to two entrepreneurs who are really making a difference. Richard Ascott, the CMO of Cowboy, and Dimitri O, the co-founder of Loop Earplugs, will be with me in the hot seat, discussing their rapid expansion and how to deal with challenges, setbacks, and how they handle customers and investors.
Industry is also undergoing major changes today, and in the segment Innovate or Die, Kati Blervak, VP of Sustainability at Sibelco, and Vincent Wille, President of Digital Printing and Chemicals from Agfa, are going to share with us what these industrial giants are focusing on and how they are evolving in a sustainable way. Louis Klaes and Dries Sager, members of the Inopta Solar team, will then discuss what adventures they embarked on from the moment they decided to join this special team.
And last but not least, we will host the VITO for Starters Pitch Contest, where our 5 finalists will try to convince you and our jury of their sustainable business venture. And I'm already super excited about all of the groundbreaking ideas that we will listen to.
If you want to capture the atmosphere of today and let the outside world know what we're doing here, and please do, be sure to tag @LoveTomorrow, and we advise you to enjoy the moment by putting your phones on silent. That's right.
All right. And now
Thank
it's
you.
time. Yes.
And I'll see you soon, Nathalie.
Yes, see you soon.
Go on, go on.
And now it's time to kick off our first speaker of today, who is determined to reshape the fashion industry. He started his career as a founder of the sustainable denim brand Honest, where he introduced the radical concept of true pricing. And nowadays, he's planning to disrupt all the standards of fashion by creating tools for both designers and consumers as a researcher at VITO. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome for Tom de Hoe.
Don't you look happy? Shopping together, buying new clothes. I don't know what this is an image you can relate to. Or maybe this is rather an image you can relate to when you think about shopping for clothes. Hi, My name is Tom. I'll introduce myself later, but first I want to start with a couple of questions. Whenever you go out shopping for new clothes, who actually checks where the clothes are coming from? If you do, please raise your hand. Ooh, that's a lot more than I expected. Right, thank you. Good. Next one. Who checks the labels to see how sustainable the product is? Again, if you do, that's already a bit less. All right, thank you. A last one. If you went out to go shopping to buy a new sustainable jean, you had the option to choose between two. Imagine or assuming that both jeans make you look great and cost exactly the same. The only difference is the material they made from and where they were made. What would be the most sustainable option? Who thinks the jean made in Portugal from 100% conventional cotton would be the better choice? A lot of hesitation. Okay. And who would think the jean made in India, made from 90% organic cotton and 10% recycled cotton, is the better and more sustainable choice? Few less hands, but a lot of people that didn't raise their hand. So, all right, tough question, isn't it? Okay, I'll get back to this one later. Either way, most people love to shop and buy new clothes. Clothes are products that are linked to how we feel, how we want to be seen or express ourselves. And that's exactly what the business model of the industry is built on. Launching ever more collections a year, producing large volumes at low prices, making it very appealing for us to buy new clothes. The business model of the industry has been focusing on how to produce more, faster, and cheaper. And of course, that also comes with a downside, because in Europe, each year per person, we throw away 16 kilograms of textile waste. Of what we throw away, only 12% is being separately collected, which means that almost 90% of all textile waste ends up in the residual waste, where it's being incinerated, lost. Of what is separately collected, less than 1% actually is being recycled into new textile products. So this means that in order to keep up with our urge to buy and consume new clothes, we need to keep on producing ever more materials and raw materials. This results in the fact that textile consumption of all consumption areas is the third highest impact category with regards to land use and water use, and the fifth highest category when it comes to raw materials and greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, the industry has done initiatives to do things better, but due to the fact it's been focusing on how to produce more, faster, and cheaper, real change have been proven to be very difficult. I've always found this quote of Einstein very inspiring. And I think this also exemplifies the challenges within the textile sector. I've always been very curious and have broad interest in things. That also results in the fact that sometimes I have difficulties in choosing what to do and I keep my options open. So I guess that's also why back in the time I studied Handelsingenieur. And even after I graduated, I wanted to keep my options open. So I was very happy when I was offered a position as a management trainee at a big international waste management company. Because that felt like a perfect option as well. But that's where I really got a look at the end of the pipe of our consumption system and to see the effect and the impact of the take, make, waste logic. That's also when I realized that true change really requires a different way of thinking and doing. Okay. Together with two partners in 2011, I started a consultancy company to help companies and organizations to really look for the innovation potential in doing things differently and to bring circularity within the core of the business model. Although we did some great projects, sometimes the advice or the outcome were only partially implemented, leaving me a bit restless about the amount of untapped potential. So in 2017, I thought, let's try myself. Let's try to make a difference and prove it's possible to do things differently. That's when I started the circular denim brand, Honest. I chose jeans as a product due to the fact that jeans is a very iconic product, but also is very representative for a lot of challenges within the sector. As I wanted to create a jean made from the highest amount of recycled jean possible, I started by harvesting the unused resources hanging in our closets. Either way, in 2 weeks' time, we collected more than 6,000 pair of old jeans. The jeans that couldn't be reworn were sent to recycling. And were recycled to reclaim the cotton fibers. Those recycled cotton fibers were then mixed with tencel fibers made from wood and spun into yarn in Belgium. Those yarns were then sent to Italy to be woven into denim fabric. And we also used a very innovative indigo dyeing technique without the use of any hazardous substances. For the design of the jean, again, I looked at the end of the pipe to see what actually was in the waste fraction or what hampered the recycling of the jean. After all, waste is a design flaw. Within that waste fraction, I saw all kinds of buttons, labels, zippers, etc. So if I wanted to design a jeans that was, again, fully recyclable, I knew that those are the things where I needed to tackle. So for the buttons, as buttons are made from different types of alloys, I chose to design a removable button. That way, the button could be taken out before it's sent to recycling. That way, the button can be reused, as buttons don't really wear out. For the rivets, the copper-colored rivets, we actually replaced them by embroideries. That way, we could eliminate another metallic part and also made them easy to recycle. Instead of using a sewed-in label with all the information, we actually chose to screen print all the information inside of the fabric. A fabric, by the way, also made from 50% recycled old white t-shirts. The first collection was launched in the spring of 2018 and was quite a success. We received a broad media coverage, and I also had the privilege of presenting at important industry events. Although the enthusiasm in general was quite good, at the end of my presentation, there was always one question that popped up. So how much does that circular jean cost? Back in the day, it was around 200 euros. So when I then disclosed the price to the audience, then I immediately got a second question. But why does it have to be so expensive? I again start to defend myself, highlighting the fact that the yarns were made in Belgium, the jeans manufactured in Milan in a small family-owned atelier, that innovative dyeing techniques were used, etc., etc. And eventually, people understood. But it just didn't feel right that I had to defend why my jean was so expensive. While the question of why a conventional jean was so cheap was never really asked. So as I got a bit fed up with that question, I thought about, again, doing something differently. So on the product website, I actually put a price build-up of the jean. So that way people could actually see what my costs were, including the margin. So when I then started to include that slide in my presentation, the question about how much does that jean cost was actually replaced by, why are you doing this? Often it's being said that as a consumer, with every purchase, that's a vote or support for what a company is doing. But it's not really fair to put that morality on consumers, as in order to do so, you need to have all the information at hand, which is seldomly the case. It's too easy for companies to simply say, but our consumer wants it, and therefore continue to do what they're doing. Of course, a consumer has chosen to buy these clothes, and who can blame them? And it's perfectly logical to buy something that's beautifully and also not expensive. But by buying that t-shirt or that clothes, that doesn't mean that by buying it, consumers also choose that it's been made in horrible circumstances or with a great impact on the environment. And of course, there's labels in place that can help or guide customers making a better choice. But then again, you really need to know what they stand for, those labels, and what they guarantee. Also, most labels only focus on a particular aspect. For example, the use of organic or recycled content, or made using less water, or without the use of hazardous substances, and so on. But then again, what do you choose? What is better? What can you trust? It's clear there's a need to actually bring some clarity in this complexity, as this complexity might be very demotivating for consumers as well. So there's a need to make some framework that's transparent, comprehensive, and also tangible. In 2019, I actually left Honest in the hands of a new team, and I joined VITO as a researcher circular economy. Within VITO, I find myself surrounded by a lot of smart people with great experience in building assessment methods and models to actually measure, quantify, and optimize the impacts. Around that same moment in time, also the European Union launched its Circular Economy Action Plan with a great focus on textiles as being one of the key value chains, as textiles being a consumption category with a high impact and great potential for improvement. And one of the first things I did after joining VITO was to contribute in setting up a European research project. That project was actually addressing a lot of the challenges within the textile sector. And that also felt like the perfect opportunity to also draft a task on how to tackle this challenge of building a comprehensive, understandable, and tangible framework. So that's exactly what we did. And the proposal was approved in 2020 with the acronym called SCURT. And the project kicked off in 2020, and also the work that we do, the work on the framework also started. The first thing we did is actually define the most relevant environmental impact categories for clothing. We ended up with 16 different environmental impact categories that can be grouped in the broader categories of climate change, resources, pollution, and toxicity. Because the clothing sector is also infamous when it comes to working conditions, and as we wanted to build a comprehensive model, we also looked at the social impact categories. So also there we defined the most relevant social impact categories, and we end up with 8 different categories, grouped under the broader categories of labor exploitation, workplace safety, fair salary, and discrimination. So now that we've defined the most relevant impact categories, the next step is actually to make them understandable and tangible. Because who really knows whether 1 kilogram of CO2 equivalent is high or low? Or whether a comparative toxic unit of 95 is high or low? I sure don't. But there's one unit that all of us can understand. That's this one, money, euros. So by putting a price on all the different impact categories, and more specifically, the remediation cost, or the cost to undo the damage of the generated impact, you can actually express all the impacts in euros. This is also the principle behind true cost economics. So it's actually what we did in building the model, matching all the relevant environmental and social impact categories with the corresponding remediation cost. So for example, for greenhouse gas emissions, the remediation cost for greenhouse gas emissions is actually the cost to bring the greenhouse gas level back to a safer level. So we then add the environmental cost with the social cost together with the product cost, which is the cost to actually produce, market, and sell the product. That results into the true cost of the product. The difference between the true cost and the product cost are actually the costs made by society, by all of us, some way or another. This is called the true cost gap. In an ideal world, this true cost gap would be 0. This also makes it very easy to actually compare the true cost to the cost of the product itself. In this model, we'll look at the entire product life cycle. So the type of clothing, where and how it's being made, used, and disposed, that corresponds with the underlying impact parameters, and then to the relevant costs. So every different choice on what, where, and how will result in a different true cost. Of course, a model is only effective if it's being put to use. So that's why, and that there's a huge need for designers and purchasers that really want to make a difference, but lack the time and knowledge to really do so. That's why we teamed up with Vlaams DC to actually build a user-friendly model that can be used by designers and purchasers. In this model, designers and purchasers can actually compare different configurations, calculate the configuration, and do things better. The tool will also give them hands-on advice on how to do things better and give an insight in the hotspots. Of course, this is only the beginning of what the model can do. Imagine that somewhere, that every price tag or every receipt will have the breakdown of the true cost of a garment. Or imagine that sometime the unsustainable products will be more expensive than sustainable ones. There's just so much potential with using this model. Coming back to this one, the tricky one. What is the better design option or the most sustainable jeans? Well, by calculating true cost, which again is a product cost with the cost of the environmental social impacts, this seems that the jeans made in Portugal is actually the most sustainable choice. But it also highlights the fact that there's still some costs paid by all of us. So actually, it's still a lot of room for improvement. To conclude, if you're a product designer or a purchaser and want to be one of the first pilot users of the tool, you can scan this QR code to register, or just come and find me after, and then you can just try the tool out. All right. I thank you for listening to my journey. I invite you all to join us on this journey in the spirit of curiosity and thinking and doing things differently so we can all love tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for your insights.
You're welcome.
Your presentation definitely sparked some more questions, so I'd like to invite you to take a seat here. So, the needed transformation in fashion is really extensive and profound, as you already mentioned, and the scale of problems can seem quite overwhelming. As both the company point of view and from the consumer point of view, where do you think that we should start? You already provided some examples to us, but according to you, what do we need to prioritize?
Well, I think it all starts with just making better products, making sure that the products you buy are sustainable by start. And so designing products that are durable, that can last a lot of wears. That way, whatever enters the market also lasts longer, and eventually when it's being worn out, after it's being reused a couple of times, it also can be recycled. Because now the gates are open, and we're getting flooded by a lot of products that are not properly designed. That cannot be used for a long time, cannot be recycled. So as long as we keep on doing that, then we're not really going to solve the problem.
But of course, there are also consumers. Now, have you witnessed some changes in consumer behavior since you started your sustainable denim brand Honest up until now? Or is there still a lot of work that needs to be done, and how should we approach that?
Well, definitely there has been a change in behavior and awareness in consumers. But at the same time, I also acknowledge the fact that consumers need some guidance in what to buy, because it's all so complex. What is sustainability? So consumers are really looking for this guidance. At the same time, also why I addressed in the presentation, sustainable products are inevitably more expensive than unsustainable ones, which also creates another barrier for consumers, which again, you cannot blame to buy something that's beautiful and not expensive. So I think we need to raise the bar and for all parties to jump over. So by making unsustainable products more expensive, and that way it becomes easier for consumers as well just to buy good products and sustainable products.
So there needs to be some sort of regulation, I hear you say, more strict regulation for unsustainable
Yeah, and the good thing is that Europe is really focusing on that. There's the textiles strategy that has come out and has been approved. So there will become new durability guidelines for textiles put on the market. But also there,
but on a global scale,
that's true. But it's a start, though. It's good that it's being tackled and started by Europe, and hopefully that can be an inspiration for others to follow.
Okay. Yeah, now you're developing a tool that helps designers. Are there any new projects on the shelf already?
Not yet. I'll be quite happy whenever this tool is actually launched and is being used. I have good hopes that the tool is actually something very relevant for designers and purchasers. That's at least what I hear from designers, that they're really looking forward to use this tool. So I think that will already be a good start, and that we'll see later. There's still so much more potential to make the tool even better, because this is, of course, a first version of the tool. So that will give a lot of joy for the next couple of months, I can imagine.
And if there are any people in the audience who want to use or check out your tool, where can they find it?
Well, you can check the QR code or go to the website of Flanders DC, I think, where they'll find more information about the tool. But there'll be extensive communication leading up to the launch late September. So people shouldn't miss it.
Okay, good luck with the
Thank
final
you.
straws. Thank you so much, Tom. Let's give him one more round of applause, Mr. Tom de Hoe.
Thank you.